Hey everybody, Darth Boy here. Well, to try to start a extremely depressing video on a less depressing, note, I got new shades. These are great shades. I think these are going to probably be my permanent ones for videos to come. For the past 5 years, I've been struggling to get new shades. One thing that's cool is that these kind of remind me of the ones I did when I first started doing face videos on YouTube. So, yeah. I didn't expect to ever make a video like this. I'm feeling very overwhelmed with this news. Noam Chomsky, one of my intellectual heroes, one of the men that has really inspired my moral, my political, my philosophical beliefs. A man that's really cemented my leftism and has made me somewhat of an anarchist. The only reason I call myself a libertarian socialist is because of Noam Chomsky. It's because I listened to Noam Chomsky talk about what true freedom was as a concept, which wasn't the conservative view of freedom, which was freedom from the fucking state, but you're still a slave to capital. You're still a slave to big business. You'll be nickeled and dimed by corporations. Everything will be privatized. Worse bullshit, worse master than what you have. Noam Chomsky was the one that really made me realize what real libertarianism was. It's not about this fucking pseudo fiscal shit that the right comes up with. It's about being truly free. Free from oppression by capitalism and a system that can really break people down. I'm not sure I'm explaining it that well. As I said, I'm very overwhelmed. This video... Okay. To give it to you straight. Yesterday, or 2 days ago, maybe even 3 days ago, because this must have been released Sunday, so it's Wednesday when I'm recording this. The following people were found in Epstein's calendar. Some Obama administration officials, some Israeli officials, current CIA director, and the biggest kick in the balls, and just stab me in the heart right now, revelation, was Noam Chomsky. Had a few meetings with Jeffrey Epstein. Oh, and Woody Allen, just throw that out there. I can't wrap my head around it. I really can't. This is a man whose main philosophy is about the betterment of humanity. Being extremely empathetic to people. A man who had a debate with David fucking Frum when David fucking Frum went after him for not being critical enough of communist states. He went into, the reason I'm critical of the U.S. more so is because I'm an American. And I'm going to call out the shit my government does. Because that's what a good and informed citizen does. You call out the atrocities of your side and the atrocities of the opposing side. because that is what a morally ethical and principled person does. Noam Chomsky, even with this shit, is still one of the most brilliant intellectuals living today. Despite bad optics, a few bad takes, and this horrible lapse in judgment. I know I'm being charitable because he is one of my heroes, and the truth is I can't defend this. I don't think anybody can defend this shit. I can't wrap my mind around it. I really can't. I'm holding back tears. When he was pressed about this by the Wall Street Journal, his response was, "It's none of your business." And was basically saying, hey, I met with this guy, met with Woody Allen, who is a great artist, his work, not mine, which is true. Woody Allen is a great filmmaker, but Woody Allen is also a piece of shit. The other response was, which probably shouldn't surprise me, considering Chomsky's previous stances about some shit in the past, which was, he did his time. I thought that gave someone a clean slate, and maybe to be blunt, I should email him. I'm not expecting an email to change his mind, but maybe it would give me closure about this shit. You know, I don't think I felt this betrayed since the revelations with John Lasseter. You might go, well, what the fuck does John Lasseter have to do with Noam Chomsky? I will tell you. And this is going to sound stupid as fuck. I admit this is going to sound stupid as shit. I really can't believe I'm going to say this, but fuck it. The character of Sheriff Woody is one of my favorite characters because he is a strongly principled, deeply moral character who has some flaws. But those flaws do not stop his convictions. What he believes is the right thing to do, the moral thing to do, the ethical thing to do. And when I found out in 2018 that John Lasseter was a sexual harasser, a serial sexual harasser, I couldn't fathom how someone could make a character like Sheriff Woody, that deeply moral character, and just be a degenerate piece of shit. The only silver lining with this horrible news with Chomsky is that he wasn't in the Black Book, at least. Oh, great. He just met with a vile, degenerate piece of shit like Epstein. Several meetings. Part of me doesn't give a fuck what the meetings were, what the context of. He should have said no. I read some comments in the Secular Talk video where someone wrote, Chomsky's a really open-minded guy, a really empathetic guy, so maybe despite this, maybe he wanted to see good in evil. But even that charitable interpretation opens up a naivete about Chomsky that I can't apply to him. Noam Chomsky is not a fucking idiot. Noam Chomsky is the exact opposite of a fucking idiot. This is a man who was one of the most celebrated linguists. This man has called out the atrocities of Israel against Palestinians. This is a man that lived, that was a little boy during the rise of Nazism, saw American Nazis in the 1930s celebrating Hitler. This little Jewish boy who saw that shit, and yet experienced that vile and vicious anti-Semitism firsthand. And yet, when confronted with this moral quandary of whether to defend a Holocaust denier, one of the most vile types of people you can defend, not defending his ideology, but defending his right to say that vile ideology without having the state come down on him, on that fucker. Why did he do it? For the simplest fucking reason. Summed it up brilliantly. If you're for freedom of speech, that means you're for freedom of speech precisely for views you despise. Otherwise, you don't believe in it at all. There's two stances you can have in freedom of speech, and you can decide which one you want. I strived, and to some extent I still strive to be that principled. I've emailed this man many times during situations of when Trump first got in office, and I was seeing the fuckers he was picking as a men. You know, one of the first people I emailed was Noam Chomsky for guidance. I was asking him, as someone who has seen this shit for decades, how do you fight this evil, Professor? How do you cope? How do you deal with seeing such a blatant evil come into power? I probably shouldn't be admitting this, but in 2017, when Steve Cleese was shot, there was a part of me that went, good, fuck him. This guy voted against gun legislation time and time again. During that, I felt disgusted in myself. So I turned to two of my intellectual heroes. I turned to Martin Luther King Jr. and I listened to his speech about loving thy enemy, and in that same day, the man I emailed, I wrote this several paragraph long email begging him for guidance about my feelings, about the immorality of celebrating the suffering of an enemy, an ideological enemy, when I shouldn't be doing that. Because this is a human being at the end of the day. This is someone who has a family, has kids, and as a moral, principled man, I should not be celebrating his suffering, regardless of the impact his votes had on society. It would be wrong of me to celebrate his suffering on a human level. And Chomsky said to me, what you're saying makes perfect sense. Basically saying the answer was within me. Hell, when it was his 90th birthday, I emailed him and I just wanted to say, happy birthday. Happy birthday, Professor. May you live many more years to come. Have a great day. And he replied, said thank you for the kind regard. Thank you for the kind wishes. During the 2020 election, I turned to him about whether or not to vote for Biden, which I knew I was going to do, regardless. But I just needed... it wasn't about voting for Biden. It was about campaigning for Biden. I turned to him when I was struggling with whether I should do that or not, whether I should give my time to that or not. And I did. Because I turned to one of my heroes for that. I don't know if I can look at him in the same light now. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt. I really, really do. But this is not a stupid man. This is not an ignorant man. And before anybody says anything, well, what if Chomsky was involved in Epstein's pedo shit? As I said, the only silver lining is that he wasn't in Epstein's black book. That black book confirmed the creeps that went to his island to abuse minors. But I guess the other factor is this. His response to the Wall Street Journal's email just felt so misogynistic. I mean, the last response of, will he do his time? I'm like, no, what the fuck are you doing? And granted, he doesn't have a good PR team. The man's a goddamn linguist. He's 94. He's a smart motherfucker. He's a smart man. I guess I was not expecting such a defensive response from someone who is a very reflective person. It breaks my heart. I'm very saddened and I'm angry by this. I have 4 of his books. I think 5 technically, because I might have a couple audiobooks somewhere. I have physical books that I'd reference. I fucking use this man's work for my own essays in college and in videos. I've used similar arguments to him because they were arguments that just made sense from an ethical and moral standpoint. You know, the saying is, you shouldn't show your heart on your sleeve. Well, I've probably fucked that up right now. I'm almost afraid to email Noam Chomsky. Right now, I'm obviously not going to email State of Mind. Because the email I would write would not be respectful. I felt like I came this close. I did a short film in college 2 years ago. It was during, 2021. I'm debating if I'm going to post it here. It's a rough cut. One of the people I wanted to interview was Noam Chomsky. Part of me wanted to go to Arizona to talk to him personally. This is shit I've really thought of doing. The thing is, I don't know if I'm able... I want to be able to forgive Noam Chomsky for meeting with Jeffrey Epstein. I really want to. Because I still look up to this man, even with this shit, because his work, the politics has objectively been for the greater good of society. A majority of it has been good. It is something that you could get a lot from. But this really is a stay on his legacy. And I don't know how much longer this man's gonna live. So, the fact that this meeting even took place, or several meetings took place, I don't give a fuck what the context was. You should have just said no. You shouldn't have gone. Jeffrey Epstein was a vile, evil degenerate. And someone as morally righteous and as principled as Noam Chomsky should never have been in the same goddamn room with him. Jeffrey Epstein isn't even... Jeffrey Epstein's name should never be associated with Chomsky. And because Chomsky, I don't know. I can't fathom why the fuck he even thought this was a good idea. The man doesn't give a shit about power or clout. These other assholes, okay, they're powerful, they're elite. But Chomsky, he doesn't give a fuck about any of that shit. He's an anarchist. The man deconstructs power structures and breaks down how fucked they are. My mind is blown. And I'm going through the 5 stages of grief. And you're seeing it on camera. So right now I'm at angry. And maybe I'm trying to find bargaining and acceptance. And I'm doing it all in one, explosion of emotions. I genuinely hope in the next few days, whether it's me, whether it's another, Chomskyite, emails Noam Chomsky and gets a real explanation as to why. That's all I want to know. Why? Maybe if I knew why, I could find closure. But I probably wouldn't. Well, what's the moral in this video? Have no heroes? Be better than those you admire. This shit just is horrible. And I don't know if I have any more words. I just feel pain. I feel sadness and horror from this. And guess I'm gonna try to get to sleep. Live long and prosper, and thanks for watching.